Hello everyone, welcome to Equal To, and this is the second video of our polynomials lesson, and I hope you have watched the first video. If you haven't, please go and check that out because that is where we have covered the basic definitions and our first example of this lesson. Okay, now with that said, we are moving to the second video, and here we are going to solve questions from exercise 2.1. Right, we have already solved one example question, so we know basically the things that are required to solve this exercise, and I'll also be teaching a few definitions maybe when we try to solve this exercise. Right, okay, now moving on to the exercise question. So it's exercise 2.1, and let me just read you the question first. Which of the following expressions are polynomials in one variable and which are not? State reasons for your answer. So we have already covered what variables are and what polynomials are in the previous video, and they are basically asking us to sort out or pick out the polynomial expressions with one variable. Okay, so we have to pick out that and we have to tell a reason for that. Okay, now let us start with the first question. I'll explain you how we are going to do that exactly. Now, this is a polynomial expression with single variables because we have only one variable x, right? We only have one variable x, and it's obviously a polynomial expression, right? Because it has exponents and it has coefficients, variables. So obviously it's a polynomial expression, and the variable that we have here is only x, and hence it is a one variable polynomial expression. Because we simply don't have any other variables. Okay, now moving on to the second subdivision here, which is y squared plus root 2. Okay, now again this is a very simple expression. You don't have to confuse, you don't get confused because of root 2. Okay, so basically this is our variable and it has a coefficient of 1, and since the entire expression has only one variable y, it has only one variable y, it is a one variable polynomial. Right, so there is not much of work for us to do here. These questions are very simple. So since it's the start of exercise, they just want you to understand the concepts, right? So it's not a difficult question, they just want you to understand the concept. So that is what they are doing here. Now in this case we have 3 root t and t root 2. Okay, now I should have said in the first example as well, here we have x squared and x. Okay, so is this basically two variable? Absolutely not. This is single variable because x squared is, here we have 2 as the exponent here. It is the power, but at the end of the day the variable here is just x, right? X squared and x, although they are different terms, the underlying variable is just x. Okay, so it's considered as a single variable. Now similar to that, here we have root t and t. Although root t and t have different values and they are different terms in these expressions, the underlying variable is just t. So the variable here is only t. Okay, so that you can say it is a one variable polynomial. Moving on to the next subdivision, we have y plus 2 by y. Again we have y and 2 into 1 by y here. You can write it like that, right? So y plus 2 into 1 by y. Here 2 is the coefficient and 1 by y is your variable. Okay, or for that y is your variable. So basically we have two terms here, but we know the underlying variable is just y, so only y, and hence it is a one variable polynomial. Okay, I hope you got it. It's very simple. There is nothing complicated here. And moving on to the fifth subdivision of this question, we have a different polynomial, right? So this is where things get a little bit interesting. Now we have three terms here: x power 10, y cube and t power 50. Okay, so basically we have three terms. Now what are the variables that we have here? We have three variables: x, y and t. So these are the three variables, right? Since we have three variables, it obviously is not a single variable polynomial. It's not a single variable polynomial. Why? Because it has three variables, right? These are obvious things. There is no need for further explanation here. So you basically can find if it has only one variable, that is maybe one alphabet or one symbol for that matter, that whose value is unknown, so that is when you call it a one variable polynomial. If it has multiple of those variables, it is not a single variable polynomial, right? So that is the first question of exercise 2.1, and we are moving to the second question here, and they are asking us to write coefficients of x square in the following. Okay, in the previous video we have seen what coefficients are exactly, so I hope you have watched it. If you haven't, please go back and watch that. Only then you would be able to understand this, right? Okay, so we are first going to find the x square term and we are going to get its coefficient. Okay, so in this first example, our polynomial is 2 plus x squared plus x, right? So this is our x squared term, and since it has no other coefficient, you can tell that it has coefficient as 1. So it is 1x squared, right? So only because of that we are leaving the 1 and writing it like that, right? So here the coefficient is 1, right? So the coefficient of x squared here is 1. Okay, now moving on to the second subdivision. Here we have, so this is a slight variation to that question, right? And you might be careful, you must be careful to answer this question because many people get this wrong. Okay, so here the polynomial is 2 minus x squared plus x cube. Please have this in mind. It's 2 minus x squared plus x cube. So the x squared term is actually minus 1x squared. Okay, so this is the term here. It's not x squared, it's minus x squared. So the coefficient here is minus 1. Coefficient is minus 1. Okay, so because it is a negative term, minus x squared, the coefficient is minus 1. Please have this in mind. Don't get this wrong in your exams. It's a very important point. So when the expression or when the term here is a negative term, its coefficient would be a negative value. Obviously the variable is going to be symbolless, right? X squared is going to be x squared. It's not going to be, we are not going to say minus x squared is the variable. Minus x squared is not the variable. Minus 1 into x squared is how we can write it, and this minus 1 part is your coefficient, right? Coefficient. So always have this in mind. Always have this in mind. Variables are not going to carry the symbols. Only coefficient are going to carry the symbols. So while picking out the coefficients, see if it is a negative term and work accordingly. Okay, now moving on to the third subdivision here, we have pi by 2 x squared plus x. Okay, so here obviously you can tell it right away. Pi by 2 is the coefficient of x squared here. So pi by 2 is the coefficient. Okay, moving on to the last subdivision of this question. It's very simple. So there is no need for confusion here, I guess. So root 2x minus 1, and we are asked to write the coefficient of x squared in this question, right? And in this case, there is no x squared term. There is no x squared term, right? So in that case, what would be the coefficient of x squared? It would be 0x squared. Okay, so if any number for that matter is multiplied by 0, you will get 0 as the answer, right? So the coefficient of x squared is 0. The coefficient is 0. Okay, I hope you got it. It's very simple. The coefficient of x squared is 0 because the term x squared doesn't exist here. Only if the coefficient were 0, the term would get go somewhere, right? It disappears because of the coefficient. So we have solved 2 questions from exercise 2.1. I hope you understood these questions. In the first one, we are just going to figure out if it is a one variable polynomial. We have done that, and you just have to see if it has only one variable. It's quite obvious. I'm just repeating myself. So if you found multiple symbols there, it's basically not a one variable polynomial, right? If it's only one symbol, x or y or t, anything for that matter, if the underlying variable is only one, that is a one variable polynomial. And in the second question, we have found out the coefficients of x squared, and if x squared itself is not present, the coefficient is just going to be 0. So that is all for this video. I hope you understood this. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the comments. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. See you in the next video, and we are going to continue solving questions from this exercise. Thank you so much for watching this one, and stay subscribed. Thank you so much. Bye for now.